What's good, YouTube? It's your boy KingSupreme back with video. We got Michael Jordan's underrated years as a Wizard. Now, if you're new here, welcome to the channel, homie. Just be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share if you can see more bangers from your boy family, because the grind never stops. Back today, we got more Michael Jordan. Very excited. I'm also reacting to the Michael Jordan video where it said NBA legends and players explain how they thought Michael Jordan would fare in today's NBA. That was a crazy fire video, so if you want to go check that one out after this, go check it out. But today, or right now, we got this underrated years as a Wizard. I was always fairly curious about, I always knew he was on the Wizard, I always knew he played for them and everything, but I was like, how good was he really? You know what I'm saying? I never really understood or knew how really good, so, and I saw a comment on this one, so I was like, you know what, sounds interesting, sounds exciting, so let's get to it. And I always love reacting to it, watching some Michael Jordan videos. So let me know any other videos you want me to get to. Let me know the suggestions in the comments, and I'll for sure get to more and more. Thank y'all for all the fire suggestions, thank y'all for all the love, all the support, and I'm gonna keep on getting these bangers out for y'all, no question. So let's get straight into this one.
The words Michael Jordan and underrated may seem like ludicrous to have in the same sentence. After all, he is one of the biggest icons in sports history and is recognized by most as the NBA's greatest player of all time. But when it comes to MJ's days with the Wizards, there is no question in my mind that those years are vastly underrated, and I believe by the end of this video, you'll be convinced of it too. When we take a look at Michael Jordan's career as a Chicago Bull, you'll see a resume of winning, excellence, and dominance. He was clearly the best player in the league just about every year he played, and he was the best player on both sides of the ball, just about every time he set foot on the court. This is the ridiculously high standards that Michael had set for himself, and that we as the fans had become accustomed to seeing from him. The Michael Jordan we knew in Chicago was always winning either MVPs, championships, or scoring titles. And this is exactly why so many people either underrate or have forgotten completely just how remarkable Jordan's stint was as a Washington Wizard.
I don't hear anyone talk about it.
So what exactly are all the different reasons why people choose to overlook these seasons? Well, for one, as I just mentioned, the bar was set absurdly high by his Chicago day standards. Number two, some believed his return tarnished the perfect ending of his career in Chicago. And number three, the bitter ending of Jordan's relationship with the Washington Wizards organization. After Jordan retired as a player from the Wizards, Jordan assumed that he would be able to return to his front office position as director of basketball operations with the Wizards. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Soon after Jordan's retirement as a Wizards player, Washington's Wizards owner Abe Pollin fired Jordan as the team's president of basketball operations.
Wow.
Jordan's previous tenure with the Wizards front office had produced mixed results. Many of Jordan's decisions as an executive did not pan out, including his decision to draft Kwame Brown straight out of high school, who ended up being a bust and was traded just 4 seasons after Jordan.
I didn't realize he was on the front office. I knew obviously he's the owner of the Hornets, or Charlotte, but how I never knew he was he was with the Wizards front office. I never knew that. It's crazy.
Drafted him. Jordan later stated that he felt betrayed, and that if he had known that he would be fired upon retiring as a player, he would have never come back to play for the Wizards in the first place. Regardless, Jordan had returned to play 2 years for the Wizards, and despite the fact that those 2 seasons failed to live up to his glory days in Chicago, and despite the fact that those 2 seasons ended in a bitter firing, those seasons were still utterly remarkable, and in my opinion, they are 2 of the most underrated seasons in NBA history. So at this point, sit back and enjoy as I break down the astonishing details about Jordan's underrated years with the Wizards. When Jordan had retired from the Bulls at the end of the 1998 NBA season, Jordan claimed he was 99.9% sure he would never play in the NBA again. As we all know, that 0.1% chance prevailed, and Jordan returned to the game he loved. Jordan's passion for the game was seen immediately upon his return, as he announced that all of his earnings from these upcoming seasons with Washington, he would be donating to disaster relief funds for the 9/11 attacks in New York.
Oh, he real.
After being completely apart from competitive basketball for 3 full seasons, Jordan was returning as a 38-year-old who was trying to get back into basketball shape. The comeback had plenty of physical obstacles as well. Jordan was heading into his return dealing with tendonitis in his wrist and in both of his knees. During a pickup game that offseason, Ron Artest had broke 2 of Jordan's ribs while playing physical defense on MJ.
Damn.
Jordan would also go on to have fluid drained from his knees multiple times throughout that year. Michael Jordan was joining a Wizards team who had finished the previous season with the 3rd worst record in the entire NBA at 19-63, despite the fact that they were playing in a much weaker Eastern Conference.
Wow.
They also had the 2nd worst defense in the league in terms of opponents' points per game. They weren't just a lottery team. The Wizards were coming off of their worst season in franchise history. The deck was stacked against him, and Jordan and the Wizards 0-1-0.
So the reason why he returned as a Wizard is because he thought he was gonna have the management role after he retired, but instead they fired him. So if they would have said it's not promised, then he never would have came back. Because I always wondered why it was the Wizards he went to, because I never knew the story or everything. I was like, wow, why the Wizards? Why the Wizards? But that's interesting though, for sure.
New season got off to a slow start at 2-9, but they began to figure things out and went on a 9-game winning streak to improve their record to 14-12.
Ooh.
Just 2 games later, Jordan had his worst performance of his return, shooting 2 for 10 from the field, finishing with only 6 points and losing by 27 points to the Indiana Pacers. Jordan was ice cold that entire game, and due to that, Michael's coach Doug Collins played Jordan in a reduced role, finishing the performance with only 25 minutes played. Jordan's 6-point game meant that his all-time great streak of 866 games with at least 10 points had come to an end. This poor performance and reduced minutes led Jordan to question his coach's faith in his abilities.
You know, that bus is lonely as a coach when you're sitting there after you've got your head handed to you. So I was sitting on the bus, and actually Michael had hired me. He was the part owner and president GM, hired me to be the coach, and then he came back to play. I'll never forget this moment ever as a coach. This to me was greatness. He got on the bus and he said, "Scoot over." And he looked at me and he said, "Do you think I can still play?" And I said, "Absolutely, that's why I'm here, to be here to help you." He said, "You know, to be my coach, you have to believe in me and believe I can still play." And I said, "Michael, I believe in you." We play the New Jersey Nets the next night. And Michael scores the first 3 times he has the ball. Byron Scott takes a timeout, and Michael comes over and says, "I want the ball right there the rest of the game, and don't take me out till I tell you." And so that's fine by me. So with 2 minutes to go in the game, he gives me the sign like, "That's enough." I take him out of the game.
Damn.
He walks over to the bench. I said, Michael, what happened tonight?" He said, "Well, the guy who was guarding me told me his back was hurting. Don't ever tell me you got a problem." He said, I'll make you pay for that." 51 points later. 51 points at age 41. He came back the next game with 46. And he looked at me and said, "I told you I could still play."
Jordan responded in the following game the way a champion responds.
It's literally
he proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that he could still play in this league.
Can't really say anything.
Jordan was torching the Charlotte Hornets, playing like a man possessed. He scored 51 points on 55% shooting, adding 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. Jordan continued his dominance into the following game, scoring an efficient 45 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists on an extremely talented New Jersey Nets team that went on to the NBA Finals that season. With these remarkable performances, Jordan became the only player in NBA history to score 50 points in a game in 3 different decades. No other player in NBA history has even done 40 points in a game in 3 different decades. Less than a month later, he had another back-to-back 40-point games, including a game-winning buzzer beater over the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Wizards started the season with a 26-21 record, and on the 47th game, Jordan collided with a teammate and tore his meniscus. He tried to play through the pain and on reduced minutes, but after another 14 games, he had arthroscopic knee surgery to repair the knee, and his season was over. Before Jordan's injury occurred, Jordan was averaging 25.1 points per game, 6.2 assists, 5.3 rebounds, and 1.5 steals per game. It's unfortunate that we didn't get to see a healthy Jordan make it through the season.
Bro, he would've made
because
the
the reality
finals.
was he was getting better as the season progressed and as he got back into basketball shape.
As carrying the team,
in his last 20 games,
carrying the team with the worst record, almost the worst record was one of the previous seasons, pretty recently, at 40 plus or 40 years old, averaging 25 points per game. Yeah, I never knew all this, man. This is crazy shit.
Up to his injury, Jordan was averaging 27.5 points per game, 6.4 assists, 5.2 rebounds, and 1.3 steals per game on 44% shooting. In his last 10 games leading up to the injury, Jordan was averaging 29.7 points, 6.6 assists, 6.1 rebounds, 1.2 steals on 47% shooting. Also before Jordan's injury, the Wizards were on a 47-win pace and were well in the playoff hunt. Up to that point, no team in NBA history had ever been a sub-20 win team and gone on to have a winning record the following season. Jordan had the Wizards well on their way up until the meniscus happened. Something else to consider is that the Wizards' second option, Richard Hamilton, missed 5 weeks of their 26-21 stretch due to Hamilton's groin injury. After Hamilton healed and returned to the floor, the Wizards went on a remarkable 15-1 streak while they had both Jordan and Hamilton healthy on the floor. When you add all of this up, you begin to realize that not only did Jordan take one of the worst teams in the league and make them competitive, but had it not been for his knee injury, the Wizards would have had a legitimate shot at the first seed in the Eastern Conference.
That's insane.
Not only was MJ getting better offensively as the season went on, but his defensive impact was getting better as well. Remember how the 2001 Wizards had the second worst defense in the league in terms of opponents' points per game? Jordan was the Wizards' only significant addition to their 2002 season, and at the time the knee injury had occurred, he had improved the Wizards to the sixth best defense in opponents' points per game, allowing only 92.2 points. In Jordan's last 35 games leading up to the injury, the Wizards were allowing only 90 points per game, on pace to have them ranked third overall defensively in the entire NBA. In the 15-1 stretch that Jordan Hamilton
that's such a poster right there. This is actually insanity, these numbers I'm saying, but this is such a poster right here. Jordan on the Wizards, Scotty on the Blazers, ex-teammates, bro. Whoa, that's a crazy picture right there.
Pace to have them ranked third overall defensively in the entire NBA. In the 15-1 stretch that Jordan and Hamilton were both actually healthy and on the floor together, the Wizards were allowing just 86.3 points per game, which was by far the best defense in the entire league. The Miami Heat finished as the #1 defense that season, allowing a higher 88.7 points per game. If Jordan and Hamilton had been able to remain healthy for the duration of the 2002 season, they may have finished with the best defense in the entire NBA.
After finishing
again, with Jordan being the only major addition, the Wizards went from the second worst defense in the league to one of the best the NBA had to offer. That's the effect a 38-year-old Michael Jordan had on a lottery team.
40.
After Jordan's knee injury and eventually the termination of his season, the Wizards absolutely imploded, winning only 11 of their next 35 games. After Jordan's injury, the Wizards allowed an average of 96.8 points per game, which would rank them in the bottom half of the league at 19th. With Jordan being the only significant addition to the Wizards roster between the 0-1-0-2 season, the Wizards roster improved 16 wins. Outside of Jordan, the 2002 Wizards' only additions were 5 bench players, who each played few minutes. Tyronn Lue played 20 minutes per game. Rookie Kwame Brown played 14. Rookie Brendan Haywood played 13. Rookie Etan Thomas played 13. And rookie Bobby Simmons played 11. Again, the addition of Jordan was the only significant addition, and the team was transformed defensively and won almost twice as many games as the year before. Jordan was still dealing with injuries heading into the following season, and because of this, Jordan started the first 15 games of the 2002-2003 season coming off of the bench. In his second season in Washington, Jordan was the only Wizard to play all 82 games, and he was 40 years old.
Wow.
He also became the only 40-year-old in NBA history to score over 40 points in a game, which he did several times that season.
After a major
he
injury.
also became the oldest player in NBA history to average at least 20 points per game.
What?
Despite the best efforts of a 40-year-old legend, the Wizards still fell short of the Eastern Conference playoffs. So let's take a look at some of Jordan's numbers with the Wizards in comparison to last year's numbers from some of today's modern NBA stars. As you can see, in many of these cases, Jordan's numbers were just as good, if not better, than a lot of today's modern NBA stars.
Crazy.
Also consider the fact that we're comparing the numbers of an injury-laden 40-year-old player to young, healthy players in the prime of their careers. When you look at it that way, you begin to realize just how impressive Jordan's Wizards seasons actually were.
Right.
Now let's take a moment to compare Jordan's seasons to other legends when they played as a 38 or 39-year-old. As you can see, these numbers aren't
able to compare to him is LeBron. And LeBron has, thankfully, never had a crazy injury. So just imagine if he was never injured either. So yeah, him and LeBron are the only one you can even put on this level of performing like this at such a
legends when they played as a 38 or 39-year-old. As you can see, these numbers aren't even close to Jordan's level of production at the same age. Jordan was just on another level completely, performing at a level that the league had never seen before or since at that age. So now that we've just thoroughly examined Jordan's production and how he impacted one of the worst teams in the NBA by joining them, let's pause for a moment to consider what may have happened if he spent those comeback years on an actual contender instead of a lottery team. If he had played for a contender, he likely would have been able to preserve his health and minutes for the playoffs. What if he had joined his old running mate Scottie Pippen on a loaded and contending Blazers team? What if he returned to Phil Jackson to play alongside Shaq and Kobe on the dynamic Lakers?
Insanity.
Are we potentially looking at an even greater 8-0 finals record for Michael Jordan?
Probably.
I know many people these days, especially the younger crowd, like to discredit Jordan's legacy because of the perceived lack of athletic competition Jordan had during the 1980s and 90s relative to today's basketball. But before you jump on that bandwagon, I want you to consider this. In the early 2000s, Jordan was, in terms of impact and statistically, one of the best players in the NBA as a 38 to 40-year-old, and he did all of that production while being way past his prime athletically, dealing with numerous injuries, all while being guarded by greats like Kobe Bryant, Vince Carter, and Tracy McGrady, night in and night out, who were all in their early 20s. Does that sound like athletic competition to you?
Type shit.
Does that sound like a prime Jordan would have been the best regardless of the era you place him in? That is certainly what it sounds like to me.
Yo. What? Now that was a fire video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I very much enjoyed it. This was crazy. This was insane. And looking at it now, you can just, I have a whole much new. I had crazy appreciation for Michael Jordan, but now I just have so much more as well. Just because, or at least for his later years, I didn't realize it was that cold with the Wizards. I didn't, but now seeing that, it's like whoa. And I think I saw a video as well that y'all said there was a video of the NBA legends and players explaining how good he was. So if you guys want to watch that video as well, I can for sure do that. But that's the video. Hope y'all enjoyed it. More videos dropping soon. Again, make sure you check out the other Michael Jordan reaction I got today, and I'll drop more videos for y'all ASAP. But that's it. Like, comment, subscribe, share if you want to see more videos. Instagram's on the bottom of the screen. Also in the description if you want to hit me up, DM me, message me, do all that shit so I can keep on spamming these videos out for y'all. I appreciate y'all so much for watching. It's your boy KingSupreme. We out, baby.